So what's up, YouTube? So in my new situation, I now have, I guess, what's called a black tank and a gray tank. Black tank being the one underneath the porta potty and the gray tank being the one underneath the sink. And honestly, sorry for all the road noise, they both need to be dumped right now, which is something I've never done. At first I thought I was getting ahead of the porta potty, but the porta potty has like a little light on it. Not a little light, I guess a little indicator on it that goes from green to red, and once it gets red, it's saying it's wanted to be dumped, which I was planning to do today anyway, but now the porta potty is telling me it's necessary. Now the problem is, as far as like adding water to it, the best way to do that is with a hose, and obviously like I don't have access to that, but I am at a park where there is a toilet, so it's a great place to get rid of both of my makeshift tanks, as it were. So let's take care of that. We'll see if I totally screw it up or not. So an opinion on which is easier, having like something that operates more like a traditional sink system, or having a bucket, a waste bucket or jug that I dump on occasion. Having the porta potty or having a pee bottle and a poop bag situation that I dump on occasion. Now there was no number 2 in that toilet in this case, but if I had to be quite honest about it, the bottle system was way easier than the porta potty. There's really no hiding what it is when it's a porta potty, so I, would only want to use something like a park if I'm not at like a traditional RV dump station situation, which I'm not most of the time. Like most of my life is city-based, city traveling. So the thing I have access to dump my wastewater is like parks and stores. With the porta potty, I have to literally physically take the whole porta potty out of the back of the van, put it on the ground, take it apart, and it's no hiding what it is. Now, when all of my wastewater, I would just combine my wastewater, to be honest. So if I had like a jug and like I had some overnight urination and also like some wastewater from the morning, it could all go in the same jug. I'm real with you guys on this channel. And then I could just walk into like any store, any bathroom, dump my wastewater for the day, move on with life. And I did it pretty consistently because my containers tended to be kind of small. But honestly, it was like way easier in the grand scheme of things. The porta potty's like way harder. The new toilet I had before I moved into the van, and I let that one go. And kept the porta potty because honestly, like, it's smart to keep the porta potty. But as far as like ease of getting rid of it, there's no hiding what I'm doing. Anybody can see I'm pulling literally a thing that says porta potty on the front out of the back of the van. I need to detach the top from the bottom. I need to take this very heavy like waste container into a bathroom and then dump it down a toilet. And it doesn't look like anything. Like, it doesn't look like when if I'm using a jug that looks like, I don't know, laundry detergent, like a laundry detergent jug. Nobody really questions it or thinks about it too much, and you put it in a bag and you walk into Walmart or Target or whatever, and you go in a public restroom and it goes down the toilet and it's bye-bye, and there's no real like suspicion about it. The thing is that used to have to happen on a far more frequent basis than dumping the porta potty, because I don't know, I've had this van almost 2 weeks now. And I've still been using public restrooms when they're available because, like, I always say this, your tanks can only take so much. So the way you can avoid sort of like filling your tanks, and also the more in your tank, the heavier it is. Like, water has weight. Like, when I bought that thing back, I could have spun it on my finger and like tossed it up in the air. It weighed so little. I wouldn't want to do that because it still was kind of gross. Also, porta potties are great when you're going on a trip with like your family, because you can hose it out at your house before you leave, do a thorough cleaning. And when you're on the road and you have to dump your porta potty, you might have access to a hose or you might not, but you might need to dump no matter what. There is a freshwater tank in the porta potty as well. I haven't gone over the operation of the porta potty, mostly because I'm just getting used to having it. So there's a freshwater tank at the top, and there's a little bit of treatment you can put in there that'll help cut some of the smell. And honestly, it's been working. But it's far more obvious what you're doing. It's heavier, and I just would not feel comfortable, taking that, throwing it in a cart and walking in the supermarket to use their bathroom and dumping it down the toilet. Now, I didn't mind doing it at a public park with restrooms. So I handled it that way. So I was like, here's a perfect opportunity. I was going to do it anyway. And then the tank went red, indicating that it was full. So that's the porta potty situation. So let's talk about the sink. So before now, I had basically gravity fed water. And by gravity, I mean there was a jug. It was set up in the air. It had a spigot on it. I turned the spigot, water came out. There was no sink set up. There wasn't a drain set up. I just had to be very careful with how I was using water. I put it in a separate, like, I had a collapsible wash basin that I didn't keep. I sent that off with the Sienna's new owner and said, if you can use it, because like I have an actual physical sink, so it didn't make any sense to keep it. But it was like water went into a container, and then all the wastewater went into a container that I was gonna dump. Again, the container was smaller, it happened more frequently, but I also could do it anywhere because it didn't look like anything out of place or weird. Whereas dragging out that very see-through 5-gallon bucket under this sink, it's pretty clear what it is. You can kind of see through it. It's very heavy. And ideally, I would still try to get rid of wastewater when I could. Now, that jug in particular isn't as obvious unless somebody physically saw, watched me pull it out from under the sink. It isn't as obvious what it is, just on its own. The way my sink is set up right now, the easiest way to pull that jug out to dump it is to do it with my doors open and just kind of pull it out and drag it out front. If I ever, completely gutted this van in the future and did a rebuild, I don't know that the sink setup is my favorite. I don't know that I'm in love with an electric pump, or the sink illusion, I guess, as much, as some other people are very excited about it. Like, I personally love the gravity-fed water system. It's really simple. It's really direct. It doesn't involve any mechanics. Now, I'm happy that I learned how to wire a sink. It was a really cool thing to do, to know I could do it. It isn't wired perfectly, I don't think, because I have to make sure the faucet is open before I hit the button, because if pressure builds up, it'll cause an issue underneath. Like, it doesn't want that pressure. So I always open the faucet up first, and then honestly the real trigger for the water is the water pump trigger, which I wish I put on top of the counter instead of under the counter, but I thought things would work out in a different way. But the point is, it works. I have water. I have a clean water system. I have a wastewater system. It's just going to take some sort of reshaping of how life works, I guess, because it's different. The task is different, the chore is different, and how I have to take care of and think about getting rid of my wastewater is different. I can hold wastewater for a longer period, but that means I'm dealing with heavier jugs and also less choices where I can take it. Because I would never, I don't think I would ever walk into Walmart with and it's not that I couldn't. I could be straight up about it and be like, hey, I live in a camper van. I have some gross water. I just want to flush it down the toilet. And they probably wouldn't care. They'd probably be like, all right, fine. Go ahead. If I had to explain it. But, I enjoy being ignored. I mean, I think success as a city van lifer is about being ignored. So the less you're raising red flags or even calling attention to yourself is better. And so when you have to do things like drag out the bottom of a porta-potty and walk it to a bathroom, that's more attention grabbing than having a bag with a dish detergent bottle in it. And they may not even know what's in your bag if the container's small enough. At one point I was peeing into a Maxwell House jug in the car. I got really athletic then, as big as I was, because I was in a car. And so I was going in a Maxwell House jug, at times when I couldn't access a bathroom. And that could go into one of those reusable shopping bags. So you just walk into the store with your reusable shopping bag. Nobody knows what the heck you have. You go in the bathroom, you dump your container, you put it back in the bag, you get back to your vehicle, you clean it out with some cleaning solution, and you keep it moving, and nobody really suspects anything. They have no reason to. You're just another person walking in the store with a reusable grocery bag. So yeah, that's my feelings on it. I'm not saying this sucks, I want to rip this sink out and throw out the porta-potty. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the task is different, and I haven't even talked about sort of the different freshwater tank situation. I mean, honestly, I lost water capacity. I used to have a 7-gallon jug, and now I have a 5-gallon jug underneath the sink. And I haven't really figured out how I want to carry extra water over that 5 gallons. And then the toilet also has a fresh water area. Now, it's not going to be used fully every time that you finish off the toilet. And like I said, that's where you put the solution. And so basically when you flush, you put a little bit of water in there, you do your business, you release it all to the bottom. Sometimes I do, a little extra up in there. There's a lot of ways you can do it, basically. But that freshwater tank is also another thing that's going to need sort of time and attention and treatment and all this other stuff. Whereas before, honestly, I just went in my designated jug and then I got rid of it at intervals that made sense and as was available. Now, what I can also do is not wait for that to get to full. to alleviate some of the, if I'm at a rest stop, for example, and it makes sense, dump it. Like don't wait for it to be full. Because the thing about it, the more full they get, the heavier they get, the more of a task it becomes. And obviously I lift weights. I don't have anything against like lifting heavy stuff, but as people go after bigger tanks, and it's not like an RV. The thing about an RV, even though you have to do it at like an RV station, is a lot of times it's just the tank doesn't move. You just feed into the tank. And there are people who design their vans that way, where they have a tank that they can just feed water into without having to physically remove it or carry it anywhere. But the problem with that, especially as a city dweller, is the easiest way for me to get water, especially potable water, drinkable water, is from one of the water fill-up stations that are in the supermarkets and stuff. And so, like, it's a little bit more difficult to get to my freshwater sink tank. It's the jug that's in the back, and that's just because of the sink design. The wastewater jug is towards the front. And yeah, for drainage reasons, it just made more sense to do it that way. And I have to pull out the waste jug, which when I'm filling it up could be damn near empty or really, really full. And I'm not going to be filling and dumping at the same place because this isn't an RV. It isn't living, in the world as an RV. So dumping wastewater and filling fresh water may not happen at the same time. And so I'll need to move the wastewater out of the way, which is great when I'm dumping wastewater because it's right at the front. But I have to completely remove the wastewater jug in order to get to the freshwater jug. And then, take it out damn near empty, which is fine, fill up a 5-gallon jug, bring it back to the van, get it back under the sink, get the, tubing back down into the freshwater jug, fit that back in there, fit the waste jug back in there. And so, like, it's a lot more steps. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. If you want the illusion of a sink, it may be what works for you in your van. But for me personally, it's actually a lot harder. Like the gravity fed, strap a jug to the countertop system is super easy. And if you I only have one water source. I do have a filtered water bottle. Let me grab it right now. I've had a few. This is like my third one. And so I got a filtered water bottle. I'm never getting like super gross water as sort of my water. Like I said, I mostly do it at fill-up stations, where the water is drinkable. So since I'm only using drinkable water, so I also have to think about like, what are you using your van for? Where are you planning to get water from? I'm not adding a freaking Berkeley system. That's going to take up way too much space and I don't have any room for it. So I just have a water bottle that has a filter in it. So if there's any slightly questionable water, now I'm not going to go get lake water and expect like this to do anything about it. But if I get some tap water, man, I've been drinking tap water all of my life. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, at this point I'm rambling, I'm being repetitive, but that's sort of been the experience of using my new wastewater systems, which would be my black tank that's underneath the porta-potty and my gray tank that's underneath the sink. Like I said, if I ever did a rebuild, I don't know that I'm attached to having a traditional sink with the faucet and all that, because honestly, gravity-fed water worked great, didn't require electricity, and was just simpler all around.